Welcome to Visionaries Global Media, your number one source for podcasting entertainment. Visionaries Global Media, envisioning excellence on a global scale.
This is Banned from Ringside.
Tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast, we have the NXT Dusty Cup Finals all lined up. Kenta makes his AEW debut. The Inner Circle look like they're breaking up. We're going to redo NXT TakeOver. It's our NXT TakeOver DoOver Philadelphia, which we tried to do last night. Our NXT Vengeance predictions and NJPW, that and a whole bunch more tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast. I swear, I'll
breathe, man.
I'll get it.
Breathe, man.
I'll get it.
Come on now.
Ditch that 9 to 5. It's time to feel alive. Hello, Marks, and welcome to the Banned from Ringside podcast. As always, I'm your host, Bill Vagey, a.k.a. Busta Spines. And out there in Edwardsville, Illinois, we have Two Beer Zach Pullman. What's going on, Two Beer Zach?
My neck, my back, ow, my hole. My name is Zach.
What was she doing yelling my hole, though? What was that about? That's so fucking weird. And sitting next to me, we have Jason Cornelius Bell. Yes, that's his real name.
Yeah,
his
right.
real name is Cornelius. What's going on, JCB?
On that note, allow us to bow our heads before we get struck by lightning. As I'll read from the latest edition of the Banned from Ringside podcast, volume 192, chapter 3, verse 14. And the good smart saith, hashtag boo the heels. It is all good, baby. Listen, share, subscribe, repeat. Good week of drama across the board. Who Drew is going to face, who Roman is going to face. You got Capitol Hill drama. It's been an interesting week all the way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it has been interesting.
I was waiting for Zach to actually make that joke, so I figured if he wasn't going to make it, I was going to make it.
Well, Zach's either going with the very highbrow with the politics stuff or the lowest of the lowbrow, which is Nia Jax talking about her hole. Yeah.
I balanced that out. You're welcome.
We are coming at you from cold South City, St. Louis, in my dark basement because something's going on with the light. So Jason and I are sitting here with some mood lighting. I mean,
I'll say
on Valentine's Day weekend.
6 feet and more, motherfucker. Back up.
Jason, tell us about F&B Eatery.
F&B Eatery on the corner of 3453 Southampton and Marquette, home of the best smash burger you never heard of. Slide on in. They've got something new. Just saw it on Instagram today. The jalapeno grilled onion and mushroom burger with American cheese, double cheeseburger. That joker looks good. Where did I see that? On Instagram. Like I say every week, follow them on social media. That way you know what you're going to get before you even walk in the door. F&B Eatery on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. All one word. Not and, but the symbol and. Nevertheless,
Ampersand.
There you go. The English major's helping me out. Nonetheless, slide on in the F&B Eatery. Tell them that Banned from Ringside sent you.
And also, don't forget about Bill's Beard Company. That is homemade, made-to-order beard oils, beard shampoos, beard balms. I use it all the time. I get compliments on my beard all the time. If you or a loved one has a beard, it's a great gift, for that fella in your life that's got a big old bushy beard that looks like shit. It will not look like shit anymore. If you want to get some Bill's Beard Company, shout out to me at BFR Bill at Twitter, and we will ship it anywhere in the world for free. That being said,
I'm actually going to go on a limb here, and for our lady listeners, if you got a big bush, it's probably appropriate too, right?
Yeah, sure.
It'll be like downy soft,
especially Valentine's Day weekend.
Out loud here.
I don't think that's a bad idea at all, Zach.
It's Valentine's Day weekend, ain't it? That's a damn shame. I don't even know that.
Let's get to that 3 count.
1, 2, 3.
JCB, kick us off.
We're going to jump to Wednesday night on the NXT side of the fence. We opened up with the one half of the Dusty Cup Finals with MSK versus Legado del Fantasma. This was actually a really good match. I was kind of looking forward to it coming in. No fuckery, which was a little bit of a surprise. I was kind of waiting for Santos Escobar to at least come out and have Karrion Kross possibly cross paths with him or Scarlett, either or, none of which happened later on, but that's another story for another time. MSK goes over to the finals, winning in a fairly impressive match. Like I said, it was pretty high flying, not necessarily a what's the word I'm looking for? It wasn't a main roster, I guess, tag team match, but it was still a good match. Good to see that the focus is coming back on tag team wrestling for a little bit back to NXT. Xia Li had a squash match. I don't even think they said this poor girl's name, but I think the interesting part with that was Caden Carter and Casey Canizero coming out and trying to reel Xia Li back in. You had Bao trying to keep them at bay, and I forget what's the leader's name. I keep forgetting the leader's name.
It's not Mai Ling. It's like Mai Ying.
Okay, well, Mai Ying apparently got a little pissed off and choked poor Bao out for Xia Li not putting Caden Carter and Casey Canizero in their place. So it looks like we're at least getting one or the other. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw both getting a little bit of that business from Xia Li to kind of really start to establish her as not a monster heel because she's not that big, but just extremely strong moving forward.
Yeah, dangerous. What was your biggest takeaway?
Probably just the build itself to take over on Sunday. I don't think there was, to me, one thing that really stood out. I know on the Dynamite side, there was a couple things that really stood out. If you had to pin me down to one, it kind of felt like Karrion Kross was not necessarily the star of the show, but he had a couple segments where they were building into a match for next week where Kross is going to meet Santos Escobar, which it sounds good on paper, but if you want to play it in kayfabe style. Thank you.
I'm trying to write shit down.
Sorry, man. Karrion Kross is a heavyweight. Santos Escobar is a cruiserweight. You just saw him being Karrion Kross take out Joaquin Wilde and Raul Mendoza last night. So even with fuckery in play, I'm not sure how much we're really going to see Gargano be able to take down Karrion Kross. So for me, it's really about Karrion Kross moving forward because he's going to get the winner of the title match no matter who is going to come out on top on that. At least that's the way it feels like to me. This is just a detour on the way back to the title match.
Zach, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's super weird that they have the former quote-unquote heavyweight champion. I know it's not a heavyweight title, but it's like the big title. Feuding with the current cruiserweight champion, which unfortunately that belt hasn't really meant much since they coined it. So it's kind of weird to me, but at the end of the day, it should be a good match. So, I mean, like, it's something that I am interested in seeing, but it just seems a little off. Like Jason said, maybe it's just a way to waste time because they don't want to throw him right back in the title picture, even though he deserves it because he had to relinquish due to injury. So it seems like he should be first in line as soon as he comes back.
Yeah, and he never lost it, but it does look like they're going to go for Finn Balor versus Karrion Kross at WrestleMania. That would be my guess. And
I'm all for it. If that's what you're going to go, I'm all for that.
Which is also, a cruiserweight versus a heavyweight, but I digress. A couple other things. Kushita. Oh, I love Johnny Gargano faking the arm injury
in a wheelchair.
And asking Austin Theory to point him towards the Tron when they were watching highlights. Austin Theory versus Kushita had a fun match. Those two guys are good against each other. Theory is definitely coming into his own. I liked Gargano, thinking that he was pulling Theory out from underneath the ring and pulling out Dexter Lumis instead. I guess I know that I'm the only one that likes Dexter Lumis, but I'm looking forward to that Kushita Johnny Gargano match quite a bit. I'm a little confused as to why Karrion Kross versus Santos Escobar is not on the takeover, but I guess that they already had the full card. I'm trying to look down here.
Not? That's weird.
No,
it's next Wednesday or whatever.
Yeah, it's next week's
Well,
NXT.
to me, and call me what you want on this one, I just think that kind of signals what's getting ready to happen. Maybe not a full-out squash, but this is not something to be taken too seriously. This is, like I said, Karrion Kross's road back to the title, at least to the title match.
At least it's not on 205 Live.
That's right. That's a good point. MSK versus Legado was a really fun match. It wasn't necessarily TakeOver level, but it wasn't that far underneath TakeOver level.
No, it was a nice 205 tag team match. It was fun to watch. It was in and out of the ring, and it once again kind of puts a stamp on MSK. This is why they're here, kind of thing.
Not a whole lot of selling, but I mean, what do you expect? Cameron Grimes makes his return. Dude,
it's so funny. As soon as I was joking about GameStop a couple weeks ago, and the whole joke was to the moon, and the whole time I was thinking Cameron Grimes. So whenever he came out and did that promo, that rules.
Yeah, it's nice to see him. It's nice to see his character get a little bit more serious. Upon his return, not just playing it so fucking goofy. He's such a goofball, man.
Too over the top for me, man.
Too over the top.
Yeah. I mean, it was like DiBiase type shit. That was, and I said it on Twitter. When he was passing out the money, I was like, this is some Ted DiBiase type shit.
Well, it's not a main event gimmick, but I mean, it can turn into one. He just has to get a little bit more. So I like his character. There's no room for him at the top of the card anyway.
Not right now. No, he's in the North American title picture, which is fine to start. But for me, like I said, it was a little too much. It was main roster on NXT, and it just kind of made me cringe a little bit.
Io Shirai cut a promo.
All three of them cut a good, decent promos.
She didn't cut it in English, but I like the content of it.
I don't think she had to cut it in English.
I like the delivery of it. Saying that when Toni Storm beat her several years ago, that she was a different 3 years ago. she was a different wrestler. And then finally, we had the Grizzled Young Veterans go over Ciampa and Thatcher to go to the finals of the Dusty Cup. So we have MSK versus the Grizzled Young Veterans. Zach, what do you think about that? What do you think about that matchup?
I think it's cool because you have two established tag teams. Grizzled Young Veterans were in the finals last year, so it gives them credibility and it makes you think that they could win. And MSK are the new kids on the block. They're obviously getting a push, so it could go either way. I still think MSK is taking it. It just seems like that's what this tournament was built on. Even though I really like Thatcher and Ciampa as a tag team, I am glad to see the tradition of the thrown together team is fading, maybe, or at least is not taking center stage this year, because it seems like the Dusty Cup, as we've said before, is very much relies on those thrown together teams instead of established tag teams. So it's cool to see two established tag teams going at it.
And you're taking Grizzled Young Veterans. Who are you taking, Jason?
No, MSK.
Oh, sorry, you're taking MSK.
We doing the pick right now?
No, you're right. We shouldn't do that because it's coming up. Towards the end of the show. You're right.
You're welcome.
You said earlier that's why I get paid the big bucks. Obviously not.
No, I'm
not good at this.
Look, it's like if you're dropping back and you don't call the blitz, and I see the blitz coming from the blind side, I just go over there, man. Just make the block.
I would have liked to have seen if they're going to have MSK go over, I would rather have MSK go over Thatcher and Ciampa just because it brings a little bit more star power. It brings it's a bigger trampoline into the main event. Jason shaking his head vehemently.
Hard no,
huh?
Look, Thatcher and Ciampa did their job. Okay, they've gotten to this point, but they're not a true tag team. If for whatever reason you wanted to keep them as a tag team from this point on, and then you ran it back where they were back in the Dusty Cup, then if you wanted them to have them win it, I'm all for it. I just don't like the slap together tag teams all of a sudden. This ain't March Madness, okay? They shouldn't have beat the Grizzled Young Veterans. The match was exactly what it should have been. The Ciampa injury aside, because it protects Ciampa, but the match was exactly what it should have been, and the right team went over.
The only team that gets thrown together before March Madness is Kentucky.
No, it ain't the only team, but go ahead.
Zach, I just want to, that's all I was thinking. But I think it puts them over bigger. I don't like the thrown together tag team either. Like,
how is that getting them over a team that's not even the team? It's two great names, but it's not a team.
But you know the answer to that. The answer to that is because Ciampa is the biggest name out of anybody that was left in the final 8, far and away. So going over Ciampa is a bigger deal than going over the Grizzly Young Veterans.
So this is a singles tournament.
Jason, don't be obtuse.
I'm just saying. I'm asking a question.
You know what I'm saying.
I'm just asking a question.
Jesus Christ. Anything else we got to talk about? I don't think there's really anything else. We're going to have plenty more NXT coming up later in the show, but that'll bring us to our 2 counts.
1, 2, 3.
2 beer. What's the 2 count?
2 count. I got to go do the other side of the coin. So we've got AEW, and this is a good Dynamite. I think one of the most enjoyable aspects of it for me was Sammy beginning his face turn and quitting the Inner Circle. So we had a backstage segment that has been kind of a weekly ongoing saga with these guys, and essentially MJF tries to trick Sammy into saying some negative stuff about Chris Jericho, and Sammy says it sarcastically, and MJF is like, that's exactly what I wanted to hear, and grabs his phone, and like on the premise that he's recording it, and Sammy destroys his phone and punches him in the stomach, which leads to their match later kind of getting messed up because he quote-unquote broke MJF's ribs. So there's just some good storytelling here, and the whole crux of everything is Sammy actually having a face turn, and it looks like he's going to take some time off, come back as a big face, which is great because he has huge babyface potential, as we said, for any number of weeks now, and his moveset is very much a babyface moveset, and I think this is going to be fantastic for his career. The Inner Circle definitely gave him a boost, gave him main event status, and gave him plenty of television time to really shine on the Wednesday night show. So I'm really looking forward to seeing like where that heads. So, but starting out with AEW, like we had Darby and Joey Janela and as the curtain jerker, and I was like, oh my God, I was like, strap in, boys. I'm like, this is going to be bonkers. And they just had like a really good wrestling match. Like they didn't do anything stupid. They didn't do anything crazy. They just had a great wrestling match, and it was done in like 15 minutes, no commercials. And Darby went over. They told a nice story with Joey's arm, and they really only did like 2 topes, and that was like the extent of it. I thought they were going to be diving off the goddamn balcony of Daly's place, but I'm glad they didn't. It was good. But I mean, the show in general was a fun show. I mean, we had a really good women's match. Second week in a row, we've had a great women's match. Layla Hirsch and Thunder Rosa. I think I liked the Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa match better. That was like my favorite match last week, and it was one of my favorite Dynamite matches. I thought those ladies absolutely killed it last week. But Layla Hirsch and Thunder Rosa kicked off this women's tournament, which I'm really looking forward to. Especially we get some Tokyo Joshi pro women like Maki Ito, who has a fantastic social media personality, and we get to see some of the other main, or what would have been mainstays like Yuka Tsukazaki and like we got Riho coming back, and just a bunch of really great talent. And I think we're going to start to see the women's kick off with this a little bit better. So all those like SJWs and all the other folks that cry about the women's scene in AEW all the time can maybe be put to rest for a few weeks, because we're going to have some good women's wrestling. What's up?
I was going to say, I don't think that people do cry about it. I don't think that it's ever a real I don't think anybody's trying to take down the talent, which I think, shitheads, I think you could say that in general for wrestling. the ones with the good hearts, like us three, or at least two of us. I'll let you guys figure out. I'll let you guys figure it out who it is. I think nobody really goes at the talent, and nor should anybody really go at the talent unless you're talking about people that are really at the top of the top of the top. If you're talking about people that are coming up, everybody's just trying to get better. I think there's a problem with booking, and there might be a problem. There might be a problem with training or something like that. But the women's division in AEW has progressed, and it's gotten better every single month since they've been around. And I think that's all. That's really all you can ask for.
That is all that I could ask for sure. But yeah, there's plenty of people demanding way more and demanding stuff that would make a much more unfortunate television show every week. And I don't think they realize that. So
yeah,
they're absolutely stacked with men's talent. They have so much men's talent they can't even get them all on TV. And these people want quote unquote equal representation whenever the talent pool it just isn't there. Like, I mean, you don't need half the TV time to be equal. Like, I don't know, subscribe to Stardom, subscribe to Tokyo Joshi, watch the Shimmer shows. Like, if you like women's wrestling, that's fine. I like women's wrestling a lot myself, but dude, like, don't try to ruin Dynamite by forcing some green-ass women on there just to make it 50%. Like, get out of here.
Jason, what do you think about Sammy Guevara's face turn?
Of course, this is just feeding into the Golden Prophecy. I just didn't think it was happening this quickly per se, but
prophecy.
Look, man, you can call it what you want to. It is on record, and I'm going to keep riding this Joker until it finally happens.
Good.
I thought MJF played, going back to the initial punch, I thought MJF, played it royal. It kind of went into current events, recording someone else, dropping the quote unquote dirt. Sammy's reaction is a natural reaction. I keep telling you, you keep fucking with me now. You got to get this work.
There is nothing more babyface than keeping your word.
Yeah.
That's basically it. And when he said, I told you one more time.
December 9th, 2020.
And I was waiting for him I was waiting for a swerve. And when he said, I told you I'm out. And guess what? Now I'm out. I was like, oh, fuck yeah.
And he walked off. I was like, well, damn.
I was expecting some kind of swerve, but it wasn't. It was
the swerve. Actually, to me, what the swerve was MJF's face, because he kind of turns away. And
he liked it.
If you could scream,
it was very subtle.
Yeah, but it was subtle enough that you couldn't really see it. But if you screenshot it, you could see the smirk. And I wrote it down on my notes. MJF's face. That to me was like, oh yeah, the plan is working. So now Sammy Guevara is gone, and basically he has everybody else in his pocket. Jericho doesn't know it because Jericho is just being who Jericho is. Him and MJF winning that tag battle royal last week was like the Inner Circle, quote unquote, won. The Inner Circle didn't win. You guys won. Let's check it out. Jake Hager, when he lost against Wardlow, who went back and consoled him? Not Chris Jericho, MJF did. Santana, same thing. When he lost, MJF was there.
For a while.
So, I mean, slowly but surely, they've been, kind of seeding, planting the seeds or whatever, and now the water being, in this case, Sammy Guevara comes in, and the next thing you know, you watch. It's going to happen, and Jericho is going to be the last to figure it out, and he's going to be the one getting jumped by the new, quote-unquote, Inner Circle, and then later on, somewhere down the line, Sammy Guevara will come back and be the quote-unquote face. But it is happening. The Golden Prophecy is happening in front of your face.
Zach, should we let Jason book the territory?
I don't know. Tony Khan's doing a pretty good job.
Oh,
he's got more money than me too. So yeah. It's all his.
He's not white either. We can't take him down for diversity. He's rich though. He's very, very
rich, bitch.
Very, very,
very. God bless him, man.
Very rich.
No, I'm just like I said. I'm just glad that I'm actually seeing this happen. And like you said, I think Sammy Guevara coming back. I don't care. I'm glad that they're doing this even without the crowd. You shouldn't stop
No, you should let the story should play out
and the way it's playing. It's supposed to be happening right now, this fast. So I'm all for it. Let's happen.
I'll also say this is that when it happened last night, I was thinking, you know what, this is pretty good timing for this. Like, they've been taking their time with it, and you know, I know a few, probably several podcasts ago, I was like, are they hurrying too much with this Inner Circle story? And now at this point, I was like, nope. And they didn't take too long either. It's like, this seems just about right, Zach?
I think so. Like, I mean, I'm totally happy to see it because you can't wait for everything. You know, you can't wait for fans for everything. So I think the timing is good because we've been teasing dissension in the Inner Circle for many weeks, and at least now we're getting some kind of payoff. It doesn't mean the Inner Circle is done. It just means that one guy is out, right? So,
right. The Inner Circle's not done, and Sammy Guevara is going, like you said, he's got so much babyface potential that it's exciting to see, and he's going to have an extreme babyface moveset also. I mean, that's obvious.
His return, whenever it is, will be an epic return. Maybe when MJF is challenging for the title at some point, or some big moment where MJF might be getting crowned. That's when you could see Sammy Guevara come back. But everything about this is being done so well. And when I was thinking about it today, it was like, I was thinking about the pod, and I was like, damn, every time I look up, it's not Jericho consoling. It's not Jericho being the quote-unquote leader. It's MJF being in those spots. That's why I keep saying that more and more, that this shit's going to happen. It's just a matter of time.
Also,
yeah, so much like subtle storytelling, which they're really good at. And I mean, they're especially good at it with like the Hangman Page stuff with the Matt Hardy. A lot of subtlety, like, you know, blink and you miss it kind of stuff. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, speaking of that.
Yeah, because I wanted to talk about that for 30 seconds.
Yeah, we'll get to everything else. We'll probably save Kenta for last, but
he's the main event.
The page, well, the first thing I was going to say is I was thinking about the pod today, too. This is all the preparation that your BFR guys put into the pod, because we think about it all day, guys.
All day Thursday.
all day Thursday, man. All I do is listen to wrestling and watch wrestling all day Thursday. I don't do a whole lot the rest of the week.
Right.
Every single segment on AEW, and I've probably said this before on the podcast, but it still rings true. Every single segment on AEW either A, puts over some kind of talent that needs some more putting over. B, tells a story that you're interested in. Or C, enhances characters that are already made. Like, for example, that Kenny Omega segment on the golf course might not have been, like, necessary, but goddamn, it was really funny as part of his heel persona to have him out there playing golf.
Oh, yeah. And cheating.
And cheating, yes. And the guys behind him putting in the ball and being like, yep, went in, boss. And the Matt Hardy, Adam Page segment, and I didn't know this until I read a recap of the show last night, because I watch them both live, but I basically lean AEW. And then I go back and watch the other shit. I didn't notice this. Hangman Page snuck another sheet of paper in there that wasn't what Matt Hardy gave him. We don't know what Hangman Page just signed to trick Matt Hardy, and I think that he was pretending to be drunker than he thought he was, thinking that letting Matt Hardy think that he'd gotten one over on Page. Guys.
Yeah, totally swapped contracts on him.
I totally missed that. I was more laughing at Matt Hardy because he's dumping out liquor or whatever, and then he leans in. So I'm looking at Matt Hardy leaning in, and I never looked at Hangman. And I'm tweeting about, yeah, damn, Hangman, you know, you can't be this drunk signing shit. I mean, what the fuck? And then somebody tweeted me back, was like, you know, there was a switch that happened. You didn't see it? I was like, no, I didn't see that shit. It's like, yeah, you know, the switch just happened. I was like, well, god damn it, now I look like an idiot. So I mean, this is what I was saying to you guys months back. It wasn't like Hangman Page is going around just getting all banged up and just going to be out of control. This is just one of those things where this is a part of the storyline. And the storyline is that Hangman gets a little banged up, but he's not going to be out of control. And this segment kind of really reinforces the fact that as much as he likes to drink, he still has a little bit of his faculties within him to make sure that he doesn't get himself into a scenario that he doesn't need to be getting into. So moving forward with him, Hardy, and Private Party next week, is he going to turn on them right away, or is he just going to kind of play it off like, yeah, I'm part of the team or whatever? That, to me, I thought was really interesting, more so the fact that I didn't see the switch and somebody had to tell me that there was a switch.
Yeah, that was definitely fun. I'm really enjoying the Hangman stuff, and, the long tease of the Dark Order stuff, which we saw right before that. So the funny thing is, if you watch, like, BTE, and you don't have to watch BTE to enjoy the storyline, but if you do, you'll see, like, basically the Dark Order being infatuated with Hangman, and, John Silver, like, slapping himself in the forehead, for saying stupid stuff, or what seems stupid, but
what
it's
what that
reminded
storyline. Me of was, like, 16 Candles.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just being a teenager and, like, saying something that seems dumb. But last thing besides the main event that I wanted to mention was Big Shotty, Lee Johnson. This is his first win. It was him and Cody versus Peter Avalon and Cesar Bononi. He's a big dude. And it was pretty funny because, yeah, it was a good name. He gets done, he does his babyface promo because he gets the pin over Peter Avalon. And he's like, I just want to thank Cody and Dustin and, my trainers and Arn and even Brandy. And, like, it's funny because, like, QT Marshall is standing there. And, like, QT Marshall, out of all those guys, and I know, like, Dustin and Arn are, like, legends and stuff, but, like, QT's an amazing trainer. Like, that's, like, what he does.
Right.
Like, he's a good wrestler, but he's a great trainer. Like, some of these guys and gals that he has trained have really shown exponential promise in comparison to even whenever they would come to the Performance Center. And so they were, like, awesome. And he totally doesn't say QT. And, like, QT doesn't, like, no-sell it, but he was, like, incredibly subtle, like, selling the fact that, like, he didn't say QT. And I was like, that's really cool because...
Okay, so I noticed that, too. So you don't think that was a shoot. You think that was a work.
I think that it is storyline, yes.
Because I was watching QT Marshall too. Because maybe it's just a coincidence, but I was also not focusing on Lee Johnson, and I was watching the guys behind him, and I was looking at QT Marshall, and I was like, man, he looks like his feelings are hurt. Now, maybe it's just that easy to work me. Or maybe the difference between pro wrestling and real life is usually pretty big. So,
no, I won't say that.
Yeah, I think if he wouldn't have said like Brandy, like I think that was like
that was the one
extra part,
right? And he wasn't there. For me, it's not that he shouted it out; it's how he did it, and even Brandy.
Exactly.
So basically, he went around the room and was like, even, this person too helped me out. But if QT Marshall is the one guy or one of the primary guys and you didn't give me a little love, yeah, your feelings as a human being are just going to be hurt. Okay? Like you said, this was the only one that I had where you were like, AEW does these three things every week. This was the one segment I was like, I wasn't sure what they did. If they were, Lee Johnson didn't really get over. If you watch Dark, you see Lee Johnson, the talent. I didn't see the storyline until Two Beer just said it. That's the storyline. And it was so fucking subtle that you really, I'm going to have to go back and watch it again because it's so subtle. It's not like, what the fuck? But, it was kind of like, well, damn, dog, what the fuck?
Before we get on to the main event, there is one more thing that I want to talk about. And speaking of no selling, do you guys know what I'm going to say?
I got to guess, but go ahead.
I mean, Sting didn't, fucking Team Taz, They got Darby Allin wrapped up in a body bag, and they're dragging him behind the truck. Sting didn't look all that concerned. Like, it looked like...
I mean, if you know Darby Allin, he probably was just having a good time. It's kind of like they were just, like, stroking him off.
Oh, Tuesday night in Seattle, Washington, getting drug around the body bag.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Right. I say he really wasn't struggling in that body bag. He was like, "Fuck it, just go slow to start."
Also, I don't know if is this me being a pussy. Like, I don't know, with the history of people getting dragged behind trucks in this country, is that really what we need to be putting on pro wrestling? Jason, I know you're trying to pitch paw it, but I'm saying it's kind of weird.
Look, as that guy in the room, I didn't think about that.
You didn't think about that?
You know what I was thinking? It's about damn time Team Taz is actually doing something. I mean, it's 5 of y'all motherfuckers. I mean, shit. Come on. You got
at least it wasn't Lee Johnson.
No shit. Oh my God.
Okay, that's why I didn't think about it. If it was Lee Johnson, then yeah, that's bad visual. It's Team Taz against Darby Allin and Sting. It's going to happen. It's going to be a street fight.
Yeah, I know. It's also...
Sorry. I mean, look, Did I like it? Did I like it? No. But I'm not going to sit up here and,
I'm not mad.
Cancel AEW over it.
I'm not mad at it. I'm just saying that is the first thing I thought of.
Really?
Yes, that's the first thing I thought of. I thought of James Byrd, I think his name was the first thing that popped into my head when I saw it. But, I am very socially conscious.
You are woke. You are woke. More woke than I.
You heard that, everybody? That's a black dude saying it. That's my African-American friend. My only African-American. No, I got more.
Yeah, I was about to say 2 or 3 more.
Come on.
There's something else I wanted. Oh, we didn't. The Good Brothers Young Bucks segment is the only other thing that we haven't talked about. Yeah, because it goes back to my Santana and Ortiz kind of rant over the last couple of weeks or whatever the case may be. When I saw it, my knee-jerk reaction of course, it's the Bucks, obviously one of the best tag teams in the world against Santana and Ortiz. This team has kind of been struggling, and I've been, kind of waiting for them to get a little push, maybe break out a little bit. But now all of a sudden, you see them in a tag team title match against the Bucks, and I'm like, man, fuck, they're getting ready to get fed to the Bucks. But then after you see MJF kind of getting his way, I wouldn't be surprised to see Santana Ortiz winning that tag team match, where you see some sort of fuckery where the Inner Circle kind of rallies around together to win that match against the Bucks, but then ultimately loses a later match against MJF and Jericho because they're the number one contenders to the tag team titles. So, I mean, once again, this whole Golden Prophecy has multiple layers and multiple tentacles. You can roll your eyes if you want to. I'm going to ride this shit out until
I didn't roll my eyes,
okay,
but you might have perceived it. I was thinking
it. I'm sorry, damn it.
Calling it the Golden Prophecy is just...
It just makes it just over the top obnoxious, and I love it.
Yeah, kind of like Cameron Grimes. All right, Zach, tell us about the main event.
So you guys like that talk main event. I worked last night and I got all the way up to the main event and I just couldn't keep it together. The edible kicked in and I just had to go to sleep. So I worked this morning and I am looking forward to watching it. But yeah, you'll have to take it from here.
It was a crazy match. I mean, it was kind of a spot fest. It was
kind of.
Okay, yeah, it was a mega spot fest.
When Lance Archer brought in the ladder, I'm like, oh no,
yeah, okay.
No.
All right, not kind of a spot fest. It was a spot fest. I like spot fests as long as they're in the ring. I could do a little bit without the walking and punching Triple H style. No holds barred, anything goes. Kushita, or not Kushita, sorry. Oh my God, that's racist as shit. Kenta. They both start with K. Kenta and Moxley back in the kitchen area, like punching each other. Like, I could do without that.
Agreed.
However, Lance Archer coming in with that box of potatoes.
I can do without that, too.
I know, I could do that, too. But I will say, that's the first time I've ever seen a box of potatoes used in a wrestling match. And I did enjoy that part about it.
I had to shake my head.
The right guys went over. Got to keep heat on the heels.
Agreed.
It was a whole lot of fun. It was a whole lot of fun. My only complaint, and this has been my complaint since AEW started, is that and I put this on Twitter. I didn't get any likes or any retweets because I only have 100 followers. But I put it on Twitter that AEW is not happy unless there's 16 guys involved in the main event segment. And that, I mean, it's just a fucking schmoz every time. They had the Good Brothers come in. Jake the Snake was involved the entire time. Young
just
Bucks
hanging out. Stop.
I'm just saying, man. There's just too many people involved in it. It loses. It loses its impact. No pun intended. For lack of a better word, it loses its impact when it happens every single week.
Okay, Two Beard, defend your promotion.
He didn't watch the show.
I mean,
no. I mean, he basically gets the gist. So I mean, he's going to watch it at a later point. Okay, but I mean, this is not.
It's not the first. It's not the first week. There's been a lot going on at the end, and I mean, I think it's a valid criticism. I don't think that it is too much to the detriment. Like, I can see it like not being your thing, and it could kind of turn you off. I do know that having been a Nitro fan as a kid, it was just total garbage. Like, because they wouldn't even give you a finish for the main event that they pumped for 3 hours, and that would turn into a schmoz 30 seconds into, after the ring entrances. So at least like in these matches, you do get a decisive finish to the main event, and then you have the schmoz. So I guess that's why it doesn't leave such a bad taste in my mouth, and it doesn't really affect me. But yeah, growing up with Nitro, it was just god awful.
Listen, I was a Nitro guy in college too when I started watching wrestling, as spoken on this podcast many times. I was a Nitro guy too, and I'll say this, that Zach makes a good point, because Nitro would not give you a finish. And Zach, I appreciate you not taking the bait from Jason, and who's trying to get us, who are, we're family. We're family by marriage, but we're family. We're also, both white. We have to stick together. And
that's okay. I got you separated right now.
Total victims.
We are the victims. Nobody's ever had a harder time in this country
than
the straight cis white man.
Let some brothers climb the Capitol. This shit in 5 seconds. You did what?
Nobody's on our side.
Nobody's on our side. Everybody's against us. It's because we've had shit pretty easy for all time. But right now, what about me though? Right? I didn't own slaves. But I forgot what I was saying. Oh, but Zach makes a good point. They do give us a finish, but NXT really almost never does that at the end of a show. Like, there'll be a finish to a match, and somebody will go over. It's not always clean. Every once in a while, you'll have like a Pat McAfee, Kings of NXT. But I do appreciate both of those approaches to a main event of a TV show. I think that I just prefer NXT's approach for that, even though I very much so approve of AEW's storytelling.
NXT has kind of veered off a little bit, at least for me, kind of main roster-ish for a while there. I know Two Beer said it for a little bit, and I agree with that. It kind of feels like we're getting back to the roots a little bit. I still kind of lean towards AEW just for the simple fact that it's more long-term storytelling, like in the Pac match against okay. They still drop in that nugget that he's one of the few people that has beat Kenny Omega in a match. Yeah. So sooner or later that is going to happen because they're very good at that. And they keep doing it. So at some point it will happen. That's why I will at least give AEW leeway. NXT, I'll give a little leeway to, not as much because it's under the WWE umbrella and they've gotten to the point where I can't give you the benefit of the doubt any longer. You got to start showing me some shit.
Honestly, I think that NXT was sold for so many years on the takeovers are the shit. The takeovers are the shit. The takeovers are the shit. That when you took away, and Full Sail was the shit. And they're traveling circus, was the shit. That when you took away the crowds because of COVID, and NXT really took a drop in terms of quality.
You said exactly what I was thinking. If there was one brand that suffered the most, it's NXT.
No doubt. I mean, and it's been so long, like it's been 11 fucking months. It's hard to remember what it was like watching shows that you didn't know the ending to. Of course, we can watch old NXTs, and it just hurts you in your belly, man. You're like, God damn, this was so much fun. Like the one we're about to talk about.
Right.
But it hurt NXT the most. I mean,
without question.
Bottom line.
Without question.
What do you think of Kenta's debut?
Good, not great, but I mean, I don't think it necessarily had to be great.
Sure.
It was the introduction, and once again, Excalibur and company, the forbidden door has been opened, kicked in, whatever verbiage you wanted to use. It basically made it official that now New Japan is a part of this partnership with AEW and Impact Wrestling. Mm-hmm. So now, once again, when you thought, I've got this, roster of dream matches, now New Japan's a part of this, mix. That being said, Kenta's Kenta. He came in with a new briefcase, and within 15 seconds, he's hitting Moxley and Archer with the briefcase.
15 seconds in. Like, literally right when it started the match.
So, in that scenario, Kenta's being Kenta. For me, the whole thing with the main event was Lance Archer, because he basically stood out in the main event. And if you weren't John Moxley, he destroyed you in some form or fashion.
He's a star, man.
It took 4 guys to get him.
I mean, talk about a guy coming into his own late in his career, but
right.
God damn.
Kenny Omega, that sequence with Kenny Omega before the finish
unreal.
Was once again where I was like, damn.
Yes, unreal. It was so good.
This guy could be the guy. Could you get mad about him losing to Moxley again? Yeah, you could.
Sure.
But
I mean, if you want to.
I'm trying.
I choose not to get mad about it.
And this is, like I said, this is one of those times where I'm going to give you guys the benefit of the doubt, because I expect you at some point to have Lance Archer come back and win the title.
All right. Anything else about AEW?
I just imagine Don Callis and Tony Khan and I don't know, maybe Rocky Romero, all in a hotel room without their shirts on, just burning incense and saying the forbidden fruit must be tasted over and over again. And that's how everything came to pass, I think.
I have that visual right now. I'm closing my eyes. I'm just like, oh yeah.
Let's get to
the sage.
Let's get to that 3 count.
1, 2, 3.
All right, so the 3 count is New Japan, New Beginnings, which the 3 count has fallen on me. I am probably the least knowledgeable about New Japan.
I got you back.
Of these 3 gentlemen here on BFR, but I'm going to do my best because it was a 2-night show. I didn't watch every match. I watched the 3 most important matches, I think.
Probably. Yeah.
I've been one I missed.
The 4th is just my own personal preference, but go ahead.
Dangerous Tekkers versus the Guerrillas of Destiny. Guerrillas of Destiny end up going over in a DQ because Taichi, my dog, couldn't stop himself from using What's it
Iron
called?
Fingers?
The Iron Fingers is what he calls it. He just started fucking dudes up with it. That match was over 30 minutes long. And it was good. Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr. are two of my dudes in New Japan. I love them so much.
Do I hear a butt
That's
coming?
what they used to call me in 7th grade, the Iron Fingers.
I don't. I'm not the biggest fan of an over 30-minute match ending in a DQ.
That's true.
That's my problem with the ending to that match. I mean, as much as I like Taichi going crazy with it and Zack Sabre Jr. trying to stop him and him like turning around and almost hitting Zack Sabre Jr. with it.
No, fuck that, man.
Sabre Jr. being like, no,
oh, so you tripping.
my bad.
Go ahead. Hit him too.
I don't really like a DQ finish in a 30-minute match. Jason.
I will give you that. And it compounds with the fact that it was in a tag team match where we've all kind of agreed that the tag team division is easily the weakest division of New Japan.
Except for the women's. Oh, wait.
I'm not. See, don't get me started. Don't get me started. It's called Stardom, motherfucker. You know, use my subscription.
Just saying.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Anyway, for me, it kind of leads me to think about, okay, New Japan Cup's coming up. You got Castle Attack at the end of the month. We're getting back to into singles action. Obviously, we're going to talk about Naito in a little bit with the Intercontinental Championship, but we're talking about singles guys. As much as I like Dangerous Tekkers, Zack Sabre Jr. is a singles guy. And Taichi, especially when I was thinking about this as it was happening, at some point, you got to think that him and Kota Ibushi are going to cross paths. So in the lead up to this, these Iron Fingers might be not necessarily what you want to see at the end of this match, but moving forward, when Ibushi and Taichi cross paths, those Iron Fingers will come back again, and that's where I think the build will come up and make that match even better than what it could be.
Yeah, Sabre Jr. and Taichi are singles wrestlers, but they held the tag belts for over a year.
Come on. Really?
That kind of makes them tag wrestlers too, right? It's not
Two beer.
What? No.
Break the tie.
Hold on. I'm just saying you might be so poisoned by American booking that the Japanese booking doesn't make sense to you.
Two beer, break the tie.
I mean, I think New Japan has a ton of singles guys as tag guys. I feel like that's more. They more often have a couple dudes than they do like I feel like God is an outlier of being just
I hear that tie
tag team guys.
I think that tie just broke. I think it just broke in the favor of your boy.
Fuck you.
Bust the spines.
Look, I'm not going to sit up here and say that you guys don't have a point, okay? I will just say this. With this win changing more towards being, like I said, back to singles or whatever, we're going to see more singles matches. We're going to see Evil and Okada actually have a match, not the tease that you saw last night or whatever the case may be, okay? The tag teams are going to have those matches. Who was it? Was it last night? It was last night, well, this morning or whatever, where you had the six-man tag team match where Yoshihashi pins Tama Tonga. Clearly, that's going to set the heavyweight tag team match for that. So, I mean...
Yeah, they tell stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
This, like I said, for me, the story is Taichi and Ibushi Part 2. It was kicks the first time. Iron Fingers will be the second time.
So you're saying the tag division kind of sets the tone for the singles division.
In this scenario, yeah.
So you're saying that Gato and Vince are like basically the same thing. Like when they had Seth versus Braun Strowman.
Oh, no. No. God, no.
I'm going to go with my second favorite N word, which is no. Do you guys want to know my first?
I do want to know your first, yes.
It's Nutella.
Oh. Actually, Nutella fucking rules, man. Just say it, Zach. Just say it. They're allowed to say it when they rap. Just say it, Zach. Just say it. Oh, why do they get to say it? Fucking idiots. And then the next match. So anyway, I love the match, though. The next match that was the main event of night one was Hiromu Tanahashi versus Sho, which was another 30-minute match, which blew the doors off the place, as far as I can tell. As far as I can tell, I'm not the most seasoned NJPW watcher. As far as I can tell, Hiromu blows the doors off the place every single time he fucking wrestles. Jason?
He does, yeah. He's a show stealer.
Watch the match, and especially post-match where you don't have fans being able to verbally give love or whatever the case may be. I was watching the backstage comments leading up to night two's show or whatever, and you can see like Hiromu kind of like egging the crowd on, and, basically, keep clapping until your hands fall off. Hiromu's been one of the biggest, brightest spots. Not saying that there's some things wrong with New Japan, but not a bunch of things. Hiromu's been a bright star in New Japan, starting, let's just say, from Wrestle Kingdom on. Keep it all 2021, if you will. He's a huge fucking babyface. I mean, it's so sick how good he is. Good he is in the ring, and how he connects with fans, especially in a post-pandemic era where you really can't, scream and shout your allegiance to whichever side you want to be on. Hiromu has gotten these fans in his hands, and literally, like Bill was saying, it's different, but like NXT is different because I feel like Full Sail makes NXT what it kind of is, especially in takeover situations. New Japan, you can drop them in a little box and it's still going to have that same heat. The fans clapping and getting behind Hiromu post-match, I thought was one of the best moments of both nights. And Ibushi being, the capper of night two, you would think that might be something that would be just as good, if not better. I thought Hiromu stole the show. Show is going to be one of the next guys of the junior division. I'm a firm believer in that. Yo's going to be Mari Jannetty. You heard it here first, okay? Say, I don't care if Show never, ever wins the title again. He has way more talent than Yo could ever have, and it's just a matter of time until he decides he wants to break away and go off on his own singles way.
All right, so Jason, why don't you tell me about the match that that I'm not going to talk about because I know it's one of your favorites. I don't even know what it is.
No, the only match that I'm probably sure that you didn't watch that I did watch was the Neverweight 6-man title match with Chaos being Goto, Yoshihashi, and Ishii versus God and Jay White.
I actually watched the end of it.
Okay, then basically that's all you kind of really need to know. I said it. I'll say it again, and I said it on Twitter last night, or I guess this morning, whatever you want to call it. My days are just obviously jumbled together. Jay White, to me, has been the best heel of New Japan since the 2021 year has started. He literally had all of us talking about, is this a work? Is this a shoot? WWE fans were literally drooling, in the prospect of him being one of a surprise interest in the Royal Rumble. And then he comes back, attacks Ishii, which makes storyline sense. I just kind of wished, and this is me being selfish because Jason wants it all, I kind of wish that they would have won the Neverweight 6-man titles because it at least made them somewhat relevant. But I get this booking because God does need another opponent for the tag team titles. You might as well throw Goto and Yoshihashi in this mix, and let's see what happens.
And then the main event was Sanada versus Ibushi.
This is what I want to hear you talk about. I know what I think, obviously, but
I mean, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, I didn't think it was great. Did you think it was great?
Two Beer, what did you think?
I didn't get a chance to watch it
Two
yet.
Beer
I
hasn't
have to
watched
watch.
Hasn't watched it. Okay.
Yeah.
It was fine.
It was a typical Sanada Ibushi match. There wasn't anything that I hadn't seen before.
It was
last
watchable
night.
because of Ibushi.
No, I won't go there. I won't say that.
You don't think it was watchable?
No, I won't say it was. I didn't come there just to watch Ibushi.
You think Sanada's watchable?
Very much so.
Okay.
I just didn't think that he was going to win the match, and I think that takes a lot of the suspense away from it.
It definitely does.
Okay, so for me, it was what's going to happen next.
Yeah, but you could tell me. I didn't watch the after. Did anything happen after? What happened?
Well, obviously, Kota Ibushi retained the titles.
This is your podcast, people. Jason's just breaking news.
Yeah,
now.
I wish I would. No, it's not breaking news. I just happen to be up
Breaking
at
news to
midnight.
me. I don't know what the fuck happened.
I just happen to be up at midnight. Naito came out and basically challenged Kota Ibushi for the Intercontinental title. So now this comes back to where we kind of talked about a few weeks ago about
How they're going to split
him up. If they were going to split him up, if they were going to do it, how can they do it? Well, Naito comes out, which is kind of funny to me because in my head, I always think about Naito throwing around the Intercontinental title, not giving two shits about it. And now all of a sudden, this is coming full circle where basically, and I haven't seen the backstage comments to exactly hear what he says, but the Intercontinental title means something to him. So now he wants to have that away from Kota Ibushi. Kota Ibushi is kind of making a lineage where the Intercontinental title is Nakamura. The heavyweight title is symbolic to, I can't even think of who the person's name is. So making it one title is like the ultimate title, blah, blah, blah. So that's basically the angle leading away from New Beginnings is now Kota Ibushi is going to at least have to wrestle Naito for the Intercontinental Championship, which my guess is he'll lose that match. So now you can break it up and have the titles the way you should.
Yeah.
They've
been together long enough.
That's what I was going to say. I don't necessarily think I'm done with double champions. I just think that we've had a run of a lot of double champions in a row.
Totally
and
agree.
It doesn't feel special anymore. You break this up. Now you have it back the way it was. I don't think that New Japan could only survive with realistically 1-2 singles heavyweight titles. You need the Intercontinental title.
What feels more overdone, the double champion or Sanada? Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Anyway, watch NJPW, you idiots. It's fucking rules. That'll do it for our 3 counts.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, before we get into the NXT TakeOver DoOver and our predictions, there's a couple things that I'd like to talk about. SmackDown was pretty good. Some things happened on SmackDown. Big E, Apollo Crews, and Sami Zayn had a very enjoyable triple threat match that if they ran that back at WrestleMania and wanted to give them 15, I know they're not going to.
Yeah,
I'm just saying if they were to run a match like that back at WrestleMania with those 3 guys, I would watch it if they give them 15 or 16 minutes because
they all can go.
They all can go, and man, Apollo Crews, I've been saying this for a long time. That motherfucker is crazy athletic.
If I didn't
athletic.
If I didn't think Jimmy Uso would be coming back soon, he would need to be a Paul Heyman guy.
Oh,
just for what he's done on Talking Smack, him and Paul Heyman, I would love to have like Apollo Crews be the second henchman to Roman Reigns at this point.
Another thing that happened besides Edge. Roman Reigns calling out Edge not going out there at the beginning, Edge coming out at the end, and then KO coming in and stunning Roman Reigns, which was fun. The other thing that I really liked was Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks kind of mixing it up a little bit. Carmella and Reginald were out there. St. Louis' own Reginald, we found out this week.
That's wild.
But I hope that the Carmella thing is a placeholder for Bianca Belair prior to WrestleMania instead of them moving towards a triple threat match at WrestleMania, which I do not want. I know that sounds hard to believe, Zach, that I do not want it. What do you think about Bianca Belair? It certainly looks like it's going to be Sasha Banks.
That makes the most sense. I mean, as far as a challenge, I think that makes for the best match. I think promo-wise, leading up to it, and just personality-wise, I really want to see that feud, like, selfishly. So
Sasha went kind of heel on Bianca Belair. Just cocky babyface / heel. Bianca has kind of backed off her cocky, arrogant babyface thing a little bit, and I think that, like we said last week, I think that promo after the Rumble really humanized her and really made her. And this week they brought in her parents, which was a lot of fun, seeing her dad fall over the couch after she won and stuff.
And she has a really good, I don't know if it's a WWE Chronicle or whatever. Mm-hmm. They just did a thing on the network of her that was excellent. So, yeah, when you say, like, humanizing her, I think that's totally accurate.
What do you think, Jason?
I was thinking more of someone like Bayley being the quote unquote placeholder between now and a potential Sasha Banks Bianca Belair match at WrestleMania. At least you have Bayley. Well, I guess they both hold a win against her, but Bayley obviously being the longest reigning SmackDown Women's Champion in history, that holds a little more credibility versus Carmella. No disrespect, two-time Money in the Bank winner, but not necessarily.
Yeah, don't respect Carmella. Don't disrespect her.
Not necessarily in the same vein as Bayley, obviously. You ain't shit. No, I think that would have been the way I would have went with it. But, I mean, Carmella is what it is. I'm just glad that at least we're getting logical storylines. Granted, I'm not sure I'm on board with Roman KO Part 3. Or I guess this would be Part 4.
Part 4, yeah. Part 4.
But, I mean, at least it kind of makes sense. I'm not, like I said, I just really, if you took away the one SmackDown cage match, I would still kind of feel this. Now it feels like it's starting to drag out a little bit, and you know that KO's not going to win. So now this really starts to make me think that it's going to be Edge versus Roman Reigns.
I think it's going to be Edge versus Roman Reigns, too. Couple other things that before we get to it, some main roster things. Shane came out, just a complete waste of Shane, but I guess Shane is kind of a waste of a McMahon now. Shane, the Raw Underground thing really put a bad taste in my mouth.
Clearly, you were just not letting that go.
I used to love the motherfucker.
Yeah, not just you either. I mean, they didn't even mention it. It was like it's not good. It never even happened.
He passed by AJ and Omos,
right?
And him and Omos, and I don't know how you say it, Omos,
whatever.
They they stood and stared at each other for a second because
we're not going down with each other.
Omos used to be the
bouncer, basically the bouncer
at Raw Underground. That's it. You're right. They didn't mention
so we're not going. I'm watching. I'm like, okay. So
no, they ain't gonna mention it, man. It's failed. They don't talk about Mark Henry's hand baby anymore either.
Look, I'm sure they'll bring that up in 25 years of some nonsense. When brothers see each other,
it's probably been 25 years,
right? Another 25 years. When brothers see each other, brothers don't speak. We give the head nod. What's up?
You mean brothers? You mean like me and my brother Jacob and me and my brother Joey?
No.
Or my brothers Joey and my brother Jacob?
People that look like me. And I see somebody that looks like me.
So like you and Gary Payton?
Me and GP, the glove. We ain't got to speak. We'll get the head nod. They didn't even do that.
L on the Last Dance. Anyway, it's McIntyre.
Or like you and Dave Chappelle. Or like you and Cat Williams. Or like
you and Michael Clark Duncan. You and Ving Rhames.
Oh
Like, Jason weighs 140 pounds soaking wet. He does not look like Michael Clark Duncan, except in the face and the head. And, you look exactly
you might
like
want
him.
to just stop. You might want to just stop.
I was trying to be racist.
I know. Well
Dude,
played.
you ain't got to try.
or like you and Idris Elba. Or like
You and Idris Elba. You and Nelson Mandela.
Hey, he's going to be the next James Bond, not Nelson Mandela. Okay, obviously not Nelson Mandela, but Idris Elba,
Or like
the
you
next
and
James
Whoopi
Bond.
Goldberg.
Stop it. Jesus. Zach's been drinking since 10 a.m. if you follow him on social media.
That's accurate.
All right. So we have the Elimination Chamber set for Raw men's. I guess this is probably going to be the only men's Elimination Chamber because Roman Reigns is probably fighting somebody else. But Shane came out and announced it's going to be McIntyre has to defend the championship in the Elimination Chamber against Randy Orton, Jeff Hardy, AJ Styles, The Miz, and Sheamus. Zach, what do you think about that lineup? Does anybody stand out to you as not worthy of being there?
The Miz, 100%. Not only because he has the money in the bank, but he also sucks. And literally everybody else. Like, I mean, yeah, I get it that the whole shtick is like former champions, but like, dude, there is not a single person except Drew McIntyre below like 40 years old. Or is the Miz below 40? I don't know. Like maybe, but like the average age has to be above 40. Like if you were to like add up all the ages and you know divide it by the number of people, I guarantee you it's 40 plus.
Well, when I look at those six guys, I see McIntyre, who's clearly been booked very strong. Sheamus, who has been booked strong in the past. He's had lots of tag title matches. AJ wins a lot. So I have no problem with AJ being there. You know, Randy has lost to McIntyre a bunch of times. Jeff Hardy doesn't beat anybody except for Elias. Like, literally nobody. Like, why is Jeff Hardy in there? And then I was thinking, like, why isn't Lashley in there? And then I came to this conclusion. Lashley's going to face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania because they have been making Lashley look like a fucking world beater for a month now. Like, he just comes out. He came out this week. He destroyed Keith Lee. He destroyed Riddle. And they are just making
multiple months.
Right.
Not even just 8 months. Like, nobody beats him.
Why would they make Lashley look so strong heading into WrestleMania? And then I start thinking, wait a minute, where the fuck is Brock? A Brock Lashley match is going to happen at WrestleMania. Can't wait to be right about this.
Okay. I missed the front part of this conversation, so I'm going to kind of guess about we were talking about the Elimination Chamber and guys that probably shouldn't be in.
That's what we're talking about. Yeah.
Miz is obviously probably the first guy because he has money in the bank. That is the safety net. No, I won't say that he sucks, okay? Miz is important just in the sense, for WWE's purpose, is because he's one of the few guys that they trust that can talk on a regular basis, week after week. You can give him his own segment. This is what you need to talk about. Go out there and handle it, Miz. Is he a great in-ring worker? No. But
he's fine.
He's fine. He's adequate.
There ain't nothing wrong with it.
He's not going to get anybody hurt, and he can get you from point A to point B without problem.
I don't want to see the Miz.
He's not even going to look like he's going to hurt anybody.
I don't want to see the. Yeah, he's got Shane punches. I don't want to see the Miz in the G1. That's how you know he's not a good worker. There's plenty of guys I'd love to see in the G1. The Miz ain't one of them.
Okay, fair. That's fair. Okay. Jeff Hardy's probably the other guy that probably doesn't really need to be in this match. I thought the same way with you. Where's Bobby Lashley? Where's Keith Lee? Matt Riddle obviously is going to be the fall guy in this whole triple threat U.S. title match. I didn't think Lashley versus Brock. I thought Lashley versus Drew. Now that you said Lashley versus Brock hasn't been around in a while. This is Lashley's dream match, minus the title, unfortunately.
They're not doing WrestleMania without Brock.
Is Brock going to... Well,
they're not doing WrestleMania without Brock. They'll back up the Brinks truck.
No, and as long as there's going to be people there, Brock will do it. If people aren't going to be there, then
they're doing it. Raymond James, they're doing it with people there.
Then Brock will do it.
To me, there's only two guys that he could face. It's going to be Lashley or Keith Lee, and I think that Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley versus Brock.
Oh, you're talking Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, who do you think I was talking about?
I thought you were talking about Lashley.
No. That's why I said Brock Lesnar.
Fuck you.
Brock, there's two guys that Brock Lesnar could face, and it'd be Keith Lee or Bobby Lashley.
Okay.
And I would want to watch either one of them. Yep. But when Lashley came back, Lashley-Lesnar was a match that people were talking about. People were like, man, these are the two biggest motherfucking dudes. Lashley had just gotten done with his Strikeforce.
Bellator, I think.
Sorry,
Bellator.
Strikeforce was a thing, though, right?
Yeah.
His Bellator run. Why not have those two guys face each other?
It makes sense.
And that's a match that I want to see. I want to see Brock Lesnar fight anybody. I mean, I'll be honest.
I want to see Lashley versus Brock Turner.
Well, yeah. And fucking...
This motherfucker.
And just fucking murder him?
Yeah, just destroy him.
That's not even going to be fun. I mean, what? I could watch, a squash match not any place, but let's...
I've seen a couple squash matches at the bar. Oh, I'll say something later. So let's get to our NXT TakeOver DoOver.
This is banned from ringside.
All right. NXT TakeOver Philadelphia took place on January 27th, 2018. The last time that Jason, Zach, and I talked about NXT TakeOver Philadelphia for any length of time was exactly 7 days ago, because we had some technical difficulties.
I fucked it up
last week. And for those of you that were contacting us, I know we said this last Friday when we ended up recording it, but we're sorry about that.
I fucked it up.
It'll never happen again. Jason,
save it all the time.
Stop
save
blaming
first.
yourself.
Save first.
But we're going to do this again. We're going to talk about NXT TakeOver Philadelphia because it's a good one. So, opening up the show, we had the Authors of Pain versus Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly for the NXT TakeOver, or the NXT Tag Team Championship. Zach, what did you think of this match?
So it's funny, we talked about this last week, but even I was talking about it last week, I had watched it like a month before that. So it's been a while since I've watched this. So I don't really have any like pointed kind of notes about this. I didn't write anything down whenever I watched it, but I was able to watch the show from start to finish because I'm a subscriber to WWE Network again. And I mean, this was definitely like a totally solid tag team match. The people that were in it, I mean, like at this point in time, Authors of Pain were just total monsters. And the main thing that I was surprised about was I didn't expect them to lose, because for some reason I was like, oh, this is where AOP gets the titles. And or did they come in having the titles?
No, they did not.
No,
Undisputed
that's
Era
what I.
came
Yeah,
out.
so I'm right. Yeah. So Undisputed came in and they retained, so they were able to like roll them up.
We need to have that for a drop.
I know, right? But I mean, this is like a totally solid match. Good curtain jerker. I gave it 3 3/4 stars.
Do you remember what you gave it last week?
Was that the same? I thought it was 3 3/4.
I don't remember. I didn't write it down. I was just wondering if you thought, because I don't know if the ones that I gave last week are going to be the same. Jason, what do you give it?
I wrote mine down. I'm like with Zach on this one. I expected one thing, and this happened twice on this same card, and it started off with this because I really expected to see AOP win the titles, and they didn't. Not necessarily the worst thing in the world, but in this scenario, you kind of wanted to get Undisputed Era over as a collective. I gave it 3 1/4 stars. Not necessarily a bad match. I just didn't think it was a great match. Somewhere in the gray, entertaining enough to where you kind of felt like there was another chapter coming on, for lack of a better term, with the AOP being involved in the match. But like I said, I gave it 3 1/4 stars.
You guys are crazy. This is a banger fucking match with a bunch of banger people. It was booked well. The ending looked like a botch, but it clearly wasn't a botch, which is even... It was not a botch.
Okay.
Because he rolled him up right out of it, but Kyle O'Reilly did. It was a banger. I gave this 4 stars. It's pretty unbelievable to me, your guys' star ratings sometimes. I was only
a quarter star away from you. We are basically in agreement.
You said 3 1/4, right?
3 3/4.
Oh, no, that's good. What'd you say?
3 1/4.
Oh, that's terrible. Sorry, Zach. We got to stick together, Zach. We can't have this motherfucker ruining our lives like this, man. I thought you said 3 1/4, which I think is insane. That was a great match.
You act like I said 1 1/4 for God's sake.
Yeah, but sometimes you give like 3 stars to it's Cassius Ohno versus Tyler Breeze, and you're like, well, 5 minutes is a little short, but it was really good. 3.5 stars.
Whatever, motherfucker.
That's what you do.
Whatever.
Okay. Next up, we had. Speaking of Cassius Ohno, we had Velveteen Dream versus Cassius Ohno. Sorry. What do you have, Jason?
I still wrote it down. I'm going to still stick to it. It's 2 3/4 stars, 2.75. Let's go like that. For me, this was about You
gave this 2.75 stars.
2.75.
So you give it only 2.25 stars. You give it a half star less than what you gave Authors of Pain and Undisputed Era?
Yeah. It started off with the step, and then the match proceeds from that point on.
I mean, they're your star ratings. Fine.
No, clearly you're shitting on it. Did you want me to go upstairs and get you some Cottonelle for this, or what?
I would like some Cottonelle.
Okay, please. I'll say, at least just ask me to go get you some. I have no problem getting you anything. You just got to ask me to do something.
I'll take some Cottonelle.
Okay, shit, I'm on the way, motherfucker. Damn.
All right, so 2.75 stars. See, this is what people tune in for, Jason. They want us to yell at each other.
No problem. That's
a dumbass star rating.
Whatever.
I would give this, it was fine. 2.25 stars.
Wait.
Maybe 2. It lasted 10 minutes. It was fine.
So you act like me giving it 2.75 and you giving it 2.25 is such a great divide, like all of a sudden now I should get my star rating stripped away from me. It's not like you have that big of, to me, 5 stars is the range. 2.5 is an average match. Average. I'm saying 2.75 is a little bit before.
Like a TV match, you would give 2.75 stars?
Depending on what the match is, but to me,
the way I think of it is like 1.25 stars is like your average TV match, just workable where nobody dies. That's what I think of.
So who's watching that shit, and who's putting that on TV?
Nobody. Like I said, this is clearly where we differ.
Clearly.
Okay, so then, really, realistically, I would give Velveteen Dream and Cassius Ohno 1 star. It was fine. Barely watchable.
Okay.
There was a couple botches. Velveteen Dream clearly couldn't get Cassius Ohno up like he wanted to. It was a shit match.
He's a big dude. I'm sorry. He just can't just be throwing Cash all around.
Don't try it.
Maybe not have the match.
Do the leg drop. Zach, what do you give it?
I gave it 2 stars. It was pretty sloppy, mostly on the Velveteen Dream's part. And Cassius Ohno is a great wrestler, and he couldn't save this match though. Velveteen Dream was at the height, not even at the height, but on the rising end of his gimmick. He came out like the Joe Frazier. He always had like really smart takeover gear, and he did a good job of kind of playing off of the characters of his opponents. So in this case, Cassius Ohno, the KO thing, and him being a boxer and it being in Philadelphia, Joe Frazier, like that was all cool. But like that's like the most that it was. Like the match itself sucked, and it was because of the Velveteen Dream and his character work saved it for that crowd, but it just wasn't that great. So 2 stars.
Yeah, listen, Cassius Ohno is one of the greatest indie wrestlers of all time.
Agreed.
He came to NXT late in his career. The dude can certainly fucking work, and he was going against a guy who was all character without a whole lot of in-ring savvy, for lack of a better word, with Velveteen Dream.
Can I say something real quick?
Of course. It's your podcast.
It's our podcast. I'll just push back on us as a collective. We were on the Velveteen Dream bandwagon for a little bit. Now, for whatever reason, whether it's real life or the fact that the pandemic happened or he's not having good matches, we are now off of said bandwagon. So I'll speak for myself personally. I'm not going to sit up here and say that I was not a Velveteen Dream guy at one point. Now, whether or not he's gone down for whatever reason, you can fill in that blank, so be it. But let's not sit up here and act like at one point he wasn't a fan favorite of us.
Yeah. Zach, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm definitely not disagreeing with it. I think maybe not just in hindsight, I mean, outside of the real life stuff, because I can separate the art from the artist, but I think whenever the pandemic happened, it really exposed him, and it kind of, the glamour was gone, right? Without fans, he wasn't anything special, because he's like charisma personified, and his character work is really where he's shown. And obviously he's got a good look. He's a good athlete, but like we overlooked all of that other stuff because he excelled in certain areas, and it made it easier to overlook. But whenever the pandemic happened and we didn't have any fans, even before all that stuff came out about him, it just really exposed him, and it just made me kind of realize, right, the kind of glamour was gone. And then it allowed me to be maybe a little bit more analytical, a little bit more critical, and just less of a fan whenever I go back and see these other matches. Hindsight's 2020,
I don't think that anything that you guys said was wrong at all. I think that you guys pretty much nailed it. And I know that doesn't make for a good pod, but Jason, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, man, we used to be so high on this motherfucker, and now we're
Seth
not
Rollins
anymore.
The same way.
Not for me.
When he was getting ready to be the heel versus Brock, we were all on board.
Yes, but that's not the same with me for Velveteen Dream. Velveteen Dream, there's a few things. Certainly what Zach said is true, and I've never even thought of it the way that Zach just said it, about him being exposed with no crowd. But man, that is 100% true.
He called it, and I kind of poo-pooed it.
But
no, he called it.
The second one being, yes, you can separate the art from the artist.
I can do that. I like Floyd Mayweather, but he's a piece of shit.
See, I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can in terms of a guy that certainly I thought was very talented, but never really was. I mean, it's not like we're talking about like one of my favorite things, like fucking Raising Arizona, the movie, or Coen Brothers, or Boogie Nights, or Clutch, or Wolf Parade, or anything like that. But the other, like, it's hard for me to separate that. I mean, he was trolling online for like adolescence, basically.
No, he was.
It's what he got busted for. And obviously, our NXT is kind of off it, too. The third one being, and this is not revisionist history because you can go back and listen to our podcast, we were always saying that he was a great character and wasn't a great wrestler. Like, he was in that 6-man North American ladder match.
Yeah.
Where Ricochet just went the fuck off. Ricochet had a crazy match, and it should be coming up here soon in our NXT TakeOver Do-Overs. But we were like, man, we said on this podcast, Velveteen Dream is the weak link in this 6-man tag, or in this 6-man match. And so when you combine a really good character without really good in-ring skills, and then you talk about how he's been exposed with no crowd, and how he might kind of be a piece of shit.
I guess that answers my question of where Velveteen Dream is.
I mean, it is going to it's going to color the way that you think about it. That's all. Let's move on to the next one. Ember Moon versus Shayna Baszler. Go ahead, Jason.
I gave this 3.5 stars. At this point, this was the match of the night. Once again, I thought that Ember Moon as the champion was primed to take the fall, but then this was one of the few times, I guess one of the few times, but one of the times where I thought a quick roll-up didn't necessarily warrant the finish of the match. Ember rolls up Shayna in very similar fashion to how Becky rolled up Shayna Baszler. Kind of weird how that happens. Anyway, the match was good. I thought Ember getting attacked after the fact made this match a little bit better in the sense that it kind of made, at least try to attempt the fact that Shayna lost this match was being portrayed as this strong, badass pro crow. So obviously she wins the title later on. I'm not sure if it's after the fact or not. Not after the fact, but the next card, neither here nor there. 3 and not 3 1/4, but 3.5 stars. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tubir.
Yeah, I gave this 3 stars. It was a totally fine match. I was super surprised. Again, just like the first match, I thought for sure Shayna Baszler was winning this title. But they did protect her with the roll-up, and she got her heat back afterwards by choking her out. So that was, like, surprising. I thought this was, like, the beginning of Shayna's reign of terror. But yeah, not quite yet. So we'll see where that ends up happening. But, yeah, totally, like, serviceable match. Nothing like transcendent.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good match. I was once again surprised at the ending. That is not the way that I remember it happening. But Ember Moon, somebody who is back on her way up, it seems to be. She is in the finals of the women's.
Oh, you're talking present time.
Yeah, back on her way up in present time. But she did go over Shayna Baszler, which I don't remember Shayna Baszler even losing in NXT. But this was a good match. I gave it 3 stars. Next up, we had Aleister Black versus Adam Cole.
Baby!
In an Extreme Rules match. This match fucking ruled. It was on fire pretty much straight from the beginning. Not a whole lot of build-up. I ended up giving this 4 1/4 stars. Jason.
I gave it 4 stars. I thought the match itself was good, especially in the sense where I thought this would be more so on the reign of the Adam Cole reign of terror, so to speak. And you come to find out now Aleister Black has been given the chance to kind of run with the ball a little bit. So that was exciting to see. Always about making new stars. At this point, this was the match of the night. More so the fact that it kind of made Aleister Black more so of a name NXT star. Adam Cole, who he was at this point. You know who he was. You know, Undisputed Era was the shit. Like I said, at this point, this was the match of the night. 4 stars.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, this was the match of the night at this point. Zach.
Yeah, up until this point, it definitely was the match of the night. I gave it 4.5 stars. I loved it. I love the Death Valley bomb onto the chairs. I 100% remembered that spot, even though in my mind, again, I was surprised whenever Black went over. Like, I just don't remember the majority of these finishes. But I do remember that one spot in this match. And even though this was not my cup of tea as far as stylistically, these guys nailed it, and it was just awesome. So 4.5 stars.
And last but not least, we had Andrade Cien Almas coming in with the belt, defeating Johnny Gargano in 32 minutes and 19 seconds. Jason, I'll let you go first.
That's some New Japan shit. Once again, for me, it's bell to bell, and then after the fact, even after the fact, I think this was easily the match of the night. Quietly, I think it was one of our match of the year candidates, if I'm not mistaken. I think Two Beer threw it out there. I gave this 5 stars. The match itself is so incredibly good. It puts Andrade and Johnny Gargano on the map. The build to this was good. The vignettes to where, like, now Johnny Gargano is at this point where he's got the title in his sights. Andrade, you know, he doesn't feel like a dominant champion, but he feels like a good enough champion. The match itself has this incredible build where Gargano looks like he's going to be out multiple times where, we haven't seen, referee stoppages in NXT and, Gargano's kind of like got his eyes rolled over, glazed over and shit. So I'm like, I'm thinking once again, I'm back in the same spot. Like, damn, they might have to stop this match and shit. It was so fucking good. And then on top of it, the cherry is when you have Ciampa jumping, Gargano, well, I wouldn't say jumping, but just hitting him with the crutch after the fact. That to me was the cherry on top of the cake. If it wasn't 5 stars leading up to that point, the 5th star was Ciampa nailing the shit out of Gargano after the fact. This is a 5-star match. I think this is the first 5-star match I've given out to this point.
Zach.
Yeah, I gave it 5 stars. I don't think I don't think I've given it 5 stars. If I did, it was Nakamura Zayn. But I think I gave that 4 3/4.
I think that
but
I
might
gave
have given
Nakamura Zayn 5 stars. But go ahead, 5 stars.
Yeah, I could have very easily. But this is the best match in NXT from what we've watched so far. So even if those are both 5-star matches, this match is better than that match even by a slight margin. I just remember watching this live and not being able to stay in my seat. I was on my couch and I was standing up, which doesn't happen often. And this is where I really started to become a Johnny Gargano mark because the dude's just so talented. And of course, how the mighty have fallen with Andrade, but he's marrying Charlotte. Maybe he'll get some of that flare shine. I don't know.
He also just lost his valet, but if they can move Finn Balor down to NXT, can they do the same for Andrade? It's I know
I know Aleister Black has requested to go down there because they got shit for him.
And that's crazy.
He told him no.
Yeah, because they're probably planning the big The Fiend versus Aleister Black,
no, stop.
Black Magic match or something.
Stop. You ain't shit.
I also gave this 5
dear.
stars. This is, like Zach said, couldn't have said it any better. I know that's bad pod. Couldn't have said it any better. It's a tremendous match, and a match that it's a type of match that you want to show people that aren't into wrestling but are into sports.
Show me a match that would make me want to start watch wrestling. This might be a foundation match to where, hey,
couldn't have said it better.
Watch the vignette, watch the build, the whole shebang, watch the match.
It's totally fun, and you will have a good time watching it. No doubt you'll have a good time watching it. And I love talking to people that don't watch wrestling and then they're watching something with me, and then they get sucked in. And they don't even realize that they're getting sucked in,
Second.
I'll never forget when I hadn't watched Adam Cole versus Gargano in the 2 out of 3 falls match, and my wife was watching it with me the next day, and we were having some drinks, and she got real into it. It takes a lot to get her away from the Instagram. Takes a lot. And she got way into it, and that's one of the most fun things about watching wrestling. So that's our NXT TakeOver DoOver, the one that we're going to be doing not next week, but the week after.
Well, once we realize that this didn't record, we'll do it next week.
Dude,
yes,
man,
we'll do it again.
Look, I keep saying I fucked it up, okay?
No,
save
You're
and
taking
then...
it so personally,
I
man.
do.
But it's not your fault, man.
Yes, it is.
I fucked up before.
It's
not
my
that
fault.
bad, but I mean...
Okay.
The
now
next...
this is Wedding Crashers throwing grenades in the trenches.
The next one we're doing, it won't be next week because next week we have an actual takeover to talk about. But the next one we'll be doing in 2 weeks is NXT TakeOver New Orleans. And this is the lineup. Oh, hold on a second. This is a great pod. Oh, yeah. Oh, reception. Everybody liked it. Okay.
New Orleans is a great place. I'll just throw that out there.
Well, yeah, New Orleans fucking rules. Okay.
I was there pre-pandemic.
Next
obviously.
week is the Curtain Jerker is, or not next week, 2 weeks from now. Curtain Jerker is the ladder match for the inaugural NXT North American Championship. It's Velveteen Dream, Ricochet, Lars Sullivan.
Speak of the devil, Velveteen Dream.
I mean, we said everybody could work in that one, so this is what I'm talking about. Velveteen Dream, Ricochet, Lars Sullivan, who is obviously, Duke and Go, good hand. Killian Dane, EC3, and Adam Cole, baby.
So it's Adam Cole and a bunch of dudes who should basically be released.
Yes, basically, yeah. But the match fucking rules. I remember the match. I remember the match rules. Shayna Baszler versus.
It might be a 5-star match.
I know. It might be Shayna Baszler versus Ember Moon. Authors of Pain. Wait. Oh, Undisputed Era defeat the Authors of Pain.
If this is what I think it is, don't give it away.
Oh, okay, I won't. Aleister Black and Andrade Cien Almas and Johnny Gargano against Ciampa in an unsanctioned match. Oh, that's
part one.
That's 37 minutes long.
Jesus, it's getting ready to get on. Okay, so here it is.
Yeah, there you go, guys.
2 5-star matches on this card.
No
Might
shit.
be.
This is banned from ringside.
All right, let's do some predictions for this Sunday, Valentine's Day, NXT Vengeance. Starting off, and I want you to give me your least likely to your most likely for the Women's NXT Championship with Io Shirai, Toni Storm, and
Mercedes
Martinez. Jason, go least to most.
Least to most, I love Mercedes Martinez. I really do. The 20-year story sounds great. Well, it is great, but unfortunately, Retribution kind of derailed that a little bit. The lack of having a consistent women's division kind of derailed that a little bit. So I'll go Mercedes Martinez, least likely to win. If you want to get the title off of Io, similar to Bobby Lashley, this is the time to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go Toni Storm in the middle. I'm going to go with Io to retain.
To beer, what you got?
Yeah, I got the same. I think the least likely will be BMW Lopez.
See?
I like her a lot. She's very talented, but she's not there to be a top gal. And then I'm going Toni Storm and then Io Shirai. I could see it going either way, but
you ain't shit. You ain't shit. When you in hell, I'm going to be there because obviously I'm older. Obviously I'm older, so I'm going to die before you just on natural causes or because I'm just going to die because I just treat my body like shit because I have past to live for and that's it. When you come down,
BMW Lopez is
I'm going to point
stuff.
up. I'm like, boss, here he come. This the dude you gotta watch out for.
BMW Lopez is good shit. Between that and him calling you Whoopi Goldberg, it's the most racist podcast he's ever had. That's saying something. That's saying something.
That is saying something.
Okay.
After 192, that's a high bar, ladies and gentlemen.
Next up.
Did you pick?
Oh, I took Toni Storm as 1, Io as 2, and Mercedes as 3.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, just because
it's time.
Just because I think they're real high on Toni Storm. Like, it has nothing to do with Io Shirai.
No disrespect. I just think for me, it feels like it's kind of time for Io to be back to chasing versus being the woman on top.
But you picked Io, though.
I'm not
to win.
Look, I'm saying
I'm trying to put words in my mouth.
Right.
Okay.
I agree. I hear what you're saying, why you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels that way. But if I have to choose.
I think Toni Storm handles herself like a champ, and she's a heel now. I think that, like you said, Io in chase mode. Next up, we have Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez versus Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart in the finals to the Dusty Tag Team Championship. I am going Tegan Nox and Raquel Gonzalez.
See, See, get your boy, dude. Get
At least
your
you
boy.
got her. At least you got like her partner correctly. Like she's
Yeah.
at least she's another member of Team Kick.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well,
Okay.
I wasn't going to replace her name with something else very Hispanic like Lopez. Fucking asshole.
Racist bastard.
What do you got, Zach?
I'm actually going to go against my better judgment, and I'm going to pick Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart because, just like we said with the men, they tend to have these slapdash teams often win it, and they're really high on Shotzi, and Ember's not really been doing too much. And, you know, little feel-good babyface win on a takeover. We'll see how it goes.
I'm going to say this the nicest way possible. If you ever meet a chick with green hair, run the fuck away. She probably plays bass in a band, and you don't want nothing to do with it. I promise. I speak from experience.
Sounds like some
It's somebody,
bitter shit to me.
It's somebody who used to be in the St. Louis music scene.
Do we need to put a hit out in this bitch or what? I mean, how long ago was this?
I hope she's doing well.
Whatever. Just slide me the name and the social security number.
She's
We'll
probably
make this
dead.
thing happen.
Her name is Motzi Blackheart. Who you got, Jason?
I'm going to go with the heels on this one. I like Dakota Kai. I like Raquel Gonzalez as equals. In this scenario, I know it's kind of like, oh, Jason, you've been saying all podcast long you don't like, two single guys or single girls in this scenario as a team. Well, they were a team before they were singles, okay? So the fact that you drop them into this tournament just makes it all the more easier. Even more so to the reason I want to do this and the reason I'm picking them is that they can go to each individual brand, Raw and SmackDown, and have tag team matches against the slap together tag team women's teams you want to put together, as in Naomi and Lana. All of a sudden now they're the team that Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler have to watch out for. I'd rather see Lana and Naomi versus Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. At least somebody's going to get the fuck over versus what's going to happen when Nia Jax and Lana get together. 9 times out of 10, somebody's going through the table and Lana's going through the table. This one time builds up the pay-per-view. For me, I'm taking Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez to win this thing. If Ember Moon would be somewhat relevant, it might get a difference for me. Right now, it's about 3 women, and Ember Moon's on the outside looking in.
Moving on to MSK and the Grizzly Young Veterans, I'm going to stick with what I have been going with since the beginning. And I actually have convinced myself that I actually believe it, that it's going to be the Grizzly Young Veterans that go over. They have done a lot to make MSK look great. They've also been on the Grizzly Young Veterans. They were in the finals last year. So I'm going with the Grizzly Young Veterans, the worst tag team name of all time. Who you got, Zach?
I'm going to do the same thing in that I will stick to my guns for what I've been saying this entire time, and I'm going to stick with MSK.
I'm doubling down. I wouldn't be surprised, though, to see Grizzly Young Veterans go over just in the fact that they've been back-to-back, and it would be hard to kind of see them lose back-to-back times. But I'm going to take I'm going to take MSK. I really like Zach Gibson a lot. I think he is so fucking good. I mean, he gets so much. He can walk in the door and pick up the mic. And if you know who Zach Gibson is, you're going to immediately start booing him. But I think it's MSK to start. I'll just stick with it.
All right. Now we get to a couple real big ones. Singles. Johnny Gargano versus Kushita.
So many jokes, so many times.
Johnny Gargano versus Kushita.
I'm sorry.
Fucking grow up, man. Johnny Gargano versus Kushita for the North American title. I will go first. No, you know what, Jason? You've gone last for a while now. Why don't you go first?
Man, I'm I'm going to go with the Gargano curse. I'm taking Kushita here on this one. Kushita has been around long enough to where feels like it's the time for him to be the champion. Gargano's not going to lose anything. It's not going to hurt him in the loss. There's plenty of guys to chase Kushita if and when he wins. Cameron Grimes, unfortunately, his over-the-top ass might be one of the first. I'm going to take Kushita win.
I'll go next. I will take... I think it's time for Kushita. I'm taking Kushita also. Zach, who you got?
Oh yeah, definitely. I've got Kenta. Oh, sorry, Kushita.
See, come on, man. Let's put some respect on these guys' names. I know we all look the same / different. In this case, they
Bill
look different
did it earlier. I know who's who. But
I know who's who too.
Like,
can we get a picture of the Bucks right now?
They're white. Who cares? I don't have to be nice to white people.
Zach, you heard that,
what,
right? He doesn't have to be nice to you anymore.
He knows.
So, same reasons you guys said. Johnny Gargano doesn't need this title. His act is so great without it. So, Kushita's on the up and up. Looks like they're getting behind him, which is great because he's a huge talent. He's not getting any younger. So,
Velveteen Dream might come back if Kushita wins.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
So all three of us have Kushita. That's the only unanimous pick. And finally, Finn Balor versus Pete Dunne for the belt. Zach, what do you think?
I got Finn Balor. As much as I'd like to see Pete Dunne have his run, it just doesn't seem like it's in the cards. Like for right now, I don't see him going anywhere else either. But I mean, Dunne had a great title run with the UK Championship. Solidified that title. The only dude he lost to was Walter, who hasn't lost it yet. I mean, but as much as Pete Dunne can be a top guy, and as much as I love Pete Dunne, I don't see him being on this marquee for a Wednesday night war. Unfortunately, it's going to be whoever's after Finn Balor, and unfortunately, I just don't think it's him as much as I'd like it to be.
Jason.
If there was a reason to pick Pete Dunne, TBZ basically kind of threw it out there, especially when you have Walter and Imperium vignettes kind of hanging over the clouds like that. And that's the one thing that we didn't talk about on NXT is the Imperium vignette, where everybody kind of gave love to everybody else, but you didn't see Walter, but you kind of know Walter's there, and he's kind of hanging out. I would love to see Pete Dunne and Walter go one more time. I just don't see it. Obviously, Walter's not around. I think Finn retains. I think, like I said, ultimately we're going to get to Finn versus Karrion Kross at the WrestleMania weekend. But man, I wouldn't mind if Pete Dunne won and you could sneak Walter over for that weekend for WrestleMania. That would be the only reason I would accept Finn Balor losing on Sunday. Outside of that, there's really no reason for him to lose. Finn and Karrion Kross is the match for NXT at this point.
I would say, like, if I had a lock of the week, my lock of the week would be there's no way that Finn Balor loses this because they're not going to go into WrestleMania season with Pete Dunne holding the belt. I mean, Finn Balor is a former Universal World Champion, and he is now in NXT, and he is the biggest star there.
I would go with that's the lock of the week.
For better or for worse, there's no way that Finn Balor loses this match. I'm going
Tommy
to go...
Dreamer's not going to beat Rich Swann. It's hard to kill is on the TV. Tommy Dreamer's not going to beat Rich Swann on Saturday night. Okay, to me, there you go. There's the lock of the weekend. Rich Swann retains over Tommy Dreamer. You might see a little moose fuckery going after the fact, but
Jesus Christ, man, we're not talking about
We
Impact.
got to throw it all in, man. It's all one
Hey.
big alphabet soup up in this bad boy. It's WWE and everybody else.
It's your podcast. Hey, thanks for the predictions, guys. Hold on.
This is banned from ringside.
We got some birthdays this week. We have Ken Shamrock is 57 years old. Akeem is 61. Tommy Dreamer, the aforementioned Tommy Dreamer, is... Zach, do you want to guess how old Tommy Dreamer is?
I want to go with 53.
50? Man, I would have guessed older than that. You're better than me. Viscera is 49.
How old was he?
50. He's only 50.
Oh, 50. Oh, wow.
I can't believe you said 53. I would have said 60. How the fuck old is Mick Foley? I guess we'll get to that later on in the year. Viscera is 49. Rich Swann, who Tommy Dreamer is facing this weekend, they have the same birthday, or at least within the same week. Tommy Dreamer is 50. Jason, you want to guess how old Rich Swann is?
Jesus, black don't crack. Less than me, 36.
Yeah, he's less than you, dude. He's 30. He could be your kid.
the fuck?
Gangrel is 52 years old.
Not that old.
Hey, everybody. Well, you're old enough to be a 30-year-old's dad.
Okay, fair enough.
You're producing
That's some early
sperm
sales.
for F&B Eatery.
Check.
For Bill's Beard Company.
Check.
For Vice.
Check.
For Murray the Murray Man Murray.
Check.
For Lucha Chris.
Check.
For... Who did I forget? For Tender Mahal.
Yeah, check.
For Two Beard Zach Pullman.
Check.
For Jason Cornelius Bell.
Konnichiwa, bitches.
I'm Bill Vagan. Everybody boo the Heat.
Boo!